Let me begin by citing the words of Frank Herbert. Of course, he's an American journalist in the 20th century. He was also an author. He says, and I quote, "Good governance never depends upon laws," you heard right, "but upon the personal qualities of those who govern." Now, he also concludes, therefore, that the best element of government is the method of choosing leaders. Now, good governance is simply the ability of governments or decision makers to provide public goods for the overall well-being of the people. And the clamor for good governance is that ordinary Nigerians, for instance, are better governed and given better lease of life in almost every critical sectors of the economy. Now, critiques have hinged Nigeria's developmental problems on bad governance and, of course, the quality of leadership. Now, agitations from different parts of the country for restructuring, constitution review, national dialogue, devolution of power from the center are all evidence of or symptoms of poor governance. I'd rather call it poor governance and poor leadership in the system. Now, at the moment, the National Assembly is conducting public hearing on possible amendment of the 1999 Constitution in different zones, geopolitical zones. And in these, opinions are divided on the possible outcome of the exercise. But regardless, for every Nigerian, irrespective of tribe or religion, the concern now is about what the future holds for them. And the belief is that challenges of poverty, insecurity, and other socio-economic hardship can be tackled if only operators of the democratic institutions, especially the governors, uphold oaths of allegiance to which they swore. In 2019, Engineer Abdullahi Sule swore an oath to serve the people of Nasarawa State and give them better lease of life. His 2 years gone. What is the signature? What is the fortune of Nasarawans? This week on Late Edition, we turn attention to Lafia to see how things are turning up for them. I am Claire Adilabu Abdurrazak. Thank you once again for joining me. Engineer Abdullahi Sule is an entrepreneur, businessman, and a politician. Now, he started by attending the Plateau State Polytechnic before leaving for Indiana, United States, USA, where he obtained his BSc and an MSc MSc degrees in mechanical technology and industrial technology as well. He started his career with the Plateau Utilities Board as a youth corps member and later joined the state steel rolling mill as a production engineer. Now, Engineer Abdullahi Sule worked in different capacities with many engineering firms, first in the United States, including Lancer Corporation, OEM component of Oscar Corporation. He was also at various times a workshop engineer, computer numerical control programmer, CNC, and director of business administration for Africa and Middle East for Oscar Corporation. He was co-founder of Sadiq Petroleum firm based in Nigeria, and later rose to become the 4th Chief Executive Officer of African Petroleum, AP, in 2001. Now, on his voluntary resignation from AP in 2006, the company was 5 billion naira positive balance sheet. I got to know. Now, Engineer Abdullahi Sule also served as a business development country manager for an American multinational oil company, Tetra International, before veering into partisan politics. He was the group managing director, GMD, of Dangote Sugar Refinery PLC, the position he occupied before contesting the governorship election in 2018. And in May 2019, Engineer Abdullahi Sule was sworn in as Executive Governor of Nasarawa State. He joins me live here in the studio as part of keeping his promise to me. Your Excellency, thank you.
Thank you.
You are a man of your promise.
Thank you very much.
I like that.
To do that, yes.
Okay, let's start from the general. We must congratulate Nasarawa State, and in addition to, as part of Nigeria, celebrating 22 years of unbroken democracy. In 1999, ordinary Nigerians, I should say, unleashed the extraordinary powers embedded in the masses through a free and fair democratic process. It is a record. Incidentally, you're one of the products of this process. Let's begin by evaluating this trajectory.
Thank you very much. Well, for Nasarawa, thank you very much for having me. But for Nasarawa, it's double celebration. Apart from the 22 years of unbroken democracy, it's also going to be, in the next few months, 25 years of the creation of Nasarawa State, which is going to be in October. So we are grateful to the Almighty God, for giving us the opportunity to be here. And we have actually moved from a state that was purely rural state to a state now that is beginning to have more and more industries and more and more facilities actually that reflect a state of the modern times, so that's part of what is happening in the state. Now, our proximity to the federal capital also gave us another opportunity, to be a state that is purely urban. Some of our local government areas, as you know, have boundary with the federal capital, and most of the low working class of the federal capital employees are actually residing in Nasarawa State. And that is the reason why the traffic is very, very heavy, going into Nasarawa State, mainly from the Inyanya, Mararaba, Karu axis. Even sometimes, with the other axis going to Toto local government, which is the other local government that is having boundary with the federal capital territory. So from all directions, we have to say, Alhamdulillah, we thank God Almighty, for giving us the opportunity to be where we are at the moment. But there is still room for growth, and we have to keep growing.
Ordinarily, a 25-year-old would still be under the roof of probably the parents. Ordinarily, I should think so. So Nasarawa is 25, still growing. But I want you to look at the role democracy really has played, in the process of democracy and what it has thrown up for the state.
Well, I think the most important part of democracy is that of ownership. It gives the people ownership of government. It gives the people the opportunity to say, we are the ones who are choosing who will govern us. So for Nasarawa State, then that is, apart from having the independence of now being under the tutelage of either Benue or Plateau, it is now a state that is independent. It is on its own, and it is making its own decisions. It is selecting who will govern them. And then democracy, and Nasarawa State played one key role to show that we can, in fact, be different. In 2011, CPC, the President Muhammad Buhari's party at the time, and it was known, won in nowhere else but Nasarawa State. Nasarawa State was the only state in the federation. So Nasarawa State was saying at that time that we have the capacity, we can decide to be independent from the rest of Nigeria, whatever Nigeria is. So it was the only state that was a CPC state. So that was part of what happened. It gave the people, but what happened in that election also is amazing. In the House of Assembly, we had 24 members. And then 20 of the 24 were PDP, and the governor was CPC. So the people were showing to the world that indeed we decide, who will be our leaders. So while the state was known more like a PDP state, they decided that for the office of the governor, they had a CPC governor. So it turned the state from to now an elite state when it comes to deciding who to govern them. So that's what I meant by saying that the beauty of democracy is to give the people the ownership, of government. And then from what we have seen today about developments, we have seen more and more local government councils, more and more local government areas that are being developed, that if we were to be under Plateau State, for instance, probably the attention wouldn't have turned to some of those states. Today, the attention is more or less on those states, and they are being fully developed. And Nasarawa is becoming more attractive for investors in the areas because of market. Most investors today are looking for where the market is, where they will have their ROI, return on investment, as quickly as possible. And Nasarawa State provides that, by being a state where the market is there, the infrastructures are there. Today we are having a 330 kV substation that is going to be commissioned soon. So the question of power inefficiency is going to be resolved. Roads are now being there. We have the highway from here to Kefi, and then federal government has already awarded, the rest of the state, taken from Kefi to Akwanga, to Makodi, to Lafia, all the way to Makodi. So these are all, apart from the road network within the state, everywhere, more dams are being created. The federal government again gave the dams. The state is also investing heavily in education. We're having more and more institutions that are coming. We have federal university, we have state university, we have federal polytechnic, we have state polytechnic, and the rest of that. So we are getting
yes,
more.
We're going to be talking, taking the issues you've raised item by item. But I just want us to look at the process, that has brought us thus far. The 22 years of uninterrupted transition, of which we have brought in our leaders, elected our leaders. And then if you listen, during my opening remarks, I cited, the quotes of Frank Herbert, who is an American author, talking about, what governance is. And the most important element of good governance, he says, is the method of choosing our leaders. You are a product of a democratic process. Can you evaluate this journey to 22 years? Has it evolved?
Well, it has, in the sense that, let me also tell you one good thing about that part when it comes to Nasarawa State. Nasarawa State is one of the few states that can boast of the fact that all the 3 senatorial zones now have produced a governor.
Oh.
Yes. Very few states can boast of that. So because what has happened is that we have had Abdullah Adamu, from the western zone that has spent 4 years. Then we have had the Aliyu Akwedoma that spent 4 years, and then Tanko Almakura 8 years in the southern zone. And now in the northern zone where I come from, now you have me, I have spent my 2 years there. So the state has that idea of trying to ensure of fairness, of ownership, of everybody feeling some sense of belonging. So we have done that. So now what happened is 11 of us actually contested for this office. When we were contesting, we all brought out our blueprints, what we intended to do. In my own case, what happened was that I engaged, one of the reputable consulting firms in the country to go around the state and come and find out and come up with a blueprint. So today we have it as part of what is driving our government, called the Nasarawa Economic Development Strategy. So we came out with it. It contained all the information about who we are in Nasarawa, what we do in Nasarawa, what are the potentials in Nasarawa, how do we achieve them, what does the state need, what do we need in order to get to this stage, and the rest of that. So that's what the document does. So I presented that. That actually caught the attention of my predecessor. For that reason, he supported me. When he supported me, I was able to emerge. And then the people overwhelmingly came out actually and voted for us. And
were you a politician ab initio? Did you have these political instincts?
No.
No.
No, I think I was, among all of them, I was the least of the politicians because you had the deputy governors that were there, you have former senators who were there, you have former commissioners, you had former this, former that, all politicians, former members, House of Reps, and the rest of that. So I think I was the only one that was former nobody. As far as I was concerned, I was more of a private sector person that came in. I delved into politics in 2007 briefly. When I came out under Action Congress, I was asked at the time, really, I will tell you, I was asked to contest, and so I contested. And when I contested, I was told I lost, and immediately I went back to the private sector where I belong, which I understood, and that's where I stayed. From my bio when you were reading it, I stayed there from 2007, immediately after the election, up until 2018, when I left again to come back to.
So you didn't even have any prior political experience?
No.
No political antecedent?
Prior to 2007, I turned zero.
No. So would you say that your successful election in 2019, would you say it was as a result of a credible process, election process?
I strongly believe it was. Otherwise, all those 10 other politicians will not have accepted the result. What happened was that we had primaries, where it was transparent, it was open, and it was actually closed cycle. That nobody knew who was voting for who. So ballot boxes were kept, and people were asked to go and actually cast their votes in any one of them. And only one person was allowed to go to the booth at a time. So anybody going to the booth could vote for anybody he wanted. So today, all those 2,341 delegates that voted, any one of them could tell me they voted for me or they didn't vote for me. And there was no way of cross-checking that.
What do you think sold you? What do you think went well for you?
I think a couple of things. In 2007, when I contested under Action Congress, even though I went back to the private sector, I did not abandon all the people I work with. Majority of them are still stuck to me. We were communicating, we were doing that, and at the end of, since I was opportune to have a little resources, every time any one of them had little assistance they needed, I was able to support to the best that I could. So I was able to keep a team. So I had a team that I kept who were purely politicians. So I think that one aspect that helped. But I think the biggest assistance I received was for the governor to buy my blueprint and say that, no, I will support this guy. But believe
so you had a vision.
Yeah.
You had a vision for the state.
Definitely.
Which the people bought into.
Well, from the beginning, the government bought into, because before you go to the people, you have to go through the primaries. So I think what I needed at the time was just the primaries. With the people, I had excellent relationship. With the traditional rulers, with everything, I had that relationship. But before getting to the people, you have to go above the party first. So I think the most difficult part was the primaries. The primaries, you needed the support of the government, you needed the support of the political party, you needed support of that. So I think that's the one that was the most critical. So I think that's the biggest support I got. I won't say I had the support of the party as the leadership of the party was concerned. Other people probably had that. But I think I had support of the government, and based on that, we went into the primary. I didn't get even 40% of the votes, to be honest with you, to tell you how credible it was. So if it was somebody really sponsored by the government, you must vote for this, you will at least get 60 to 70% of the vote. I didn't get even 40. But because we were so many, you understand that, I got about 39% of the votes, and that was enough to cross over. So now it takes me to the next level, which is the general election. So the general election, a lot of people knew my antecedents. They knew how much I supported the state in one way or the other, even though I wasn't a politician.
So you were still a grassroots person. Regardless, you kept touch with your base.
Yes, definitely.
If Your Excellency, if we are to extrapolate this to the larger Nigerian society, what would you think is the gap, in the leadership that we have, installed over the years?
I think one of the biggest gaps is some of us don't have that direct contact with the grassroots. I think that's one of the major problems that we have. When you occupy a position of leadership like the one we are at the moment, sometimes, the people around you don't give you the opportunity to leave that cycle and go and hear what the common man has. And that's why at the end of my 2 years, I insisted that I must go to all the local government councils, meet all the local people who probably will not have direct contact with me, ask them to shoot me with all their questions, criticize me where they wanted. I gave them the opportunity. So we call it town hall meetings. And I had 13 town hall meetings for the 13 local government councils we had. So we gave the people that opportunity, and I was shocked to hear some of the things the people had. I probably will do something, and the people will say, no, instead of this, you will have done something else. You will have done this. And now I have taken corrections. So by the next 2 years, then I will concentrate on some of the things the people now want.
Okay. Now, I talked about the issue of leadership and the agitations, ongoing at the moment in our country from different parts, of Nigeria. And social critics would hinge all of this on the quality of leadership, but especially at the second and lower tiers of government, but precisely at the doorstep of the executive governors. You're one of them. What are your thoughts about that?
One of the problems with this country is that you have people who talk about things they have no knowledge of. Some of these so-called social critics have zero knowledge of what is really happening in government. I didn't have the opportunity of knowing that until I'm now a governor. I had somebody who criticized that, because governors are the ones who are controlling the local government resources, that's why the government is not there. I say, come to Nasarawa State. I will give you an example. I came in May 2019. June 2019 actually was the takeoff of the financial autonomy of the local government councils. In Nasarawa State, they can go and check. I had never been involved with how the local government councils were spending their money. Never. Since I came in, and since the NFIU began, the autonomy actually started. So what happened was that the money will come directly to their account. They will sit with the Ministry for the local government. They will have what they call a JAC meeting, joint account meeting. They will sit down at the meeting. They will share their resources. All I insisted was that workers must be paid 100% of their salary, 100% of their pension. Because when I came, they were being paid in percentages. So I insisted on that. Okay, and they were paying that. I insisted that as far as we are concerned, we are not interested in knowing which project they were going to go into, which contractors they were going to select, okay, and where the location of those projects should be. And never have I ever been involved in any one of those. Yet, the local government councils are unable to pay some salaries. In fact, in some months, the state government, from our own improved internally generated resources, we had given them money to pay for their own salaries. But somebody out there, so-called critic, will tell you that, no state in the federation is doing that. So part of the problems we have in the country is that we have a lot of people who sit down in the comfort of their rooms and call themselves critics and criticize having no knowledge of what is happening.
In terms of autonomy, what is the status of the third tier of the local government in Nasarawa State now?
Well, so far as they are concerned, since we came in since June 2019, they had been paying 100% of salaries, 100% of pension, up until they are owing 2 months salary, 3 months pension at the moment. And the complaint of the chairman was that they were being forced by the governor to pay 100% salary, 100% pension, as if maybe the people who work 50% or 30%. So that's the only critique I continue to receive from them. And I'm willing to accept that criticism because throughout my life, I have worked for 35 years. I've been paying 40% of salaries, 100% of pension. So that is aside. When I came in, they were elected for 3 years. They had spent only 1 year by May when I came. So there were a lot of agitations for me to dissolve the local government councils. because I was not there when they were elected, and appoint my own. I refused. I said, no, they should, to tell you we are trying to give them the room, to be independent. So we gave them the opportunity. They actually finished up until May 28th, just about 3, 4, 5 days ago, was when they concluded. So now they had finished. Now we are going to conduct new elections. And I called them during the farewell speech of them, and I told them that any one of you that had done well, go back to your people, you can go and recontest, campaign. If they vote for you, I will not block any one of you. So for local government in Nasarawa State, I can tell you clearly the process is working.
Global Trends supports inclusive government. And of course, getting the people to participate in the process. You are a very strong advocate of that. How have you mainstreamed this?
No, well, that's the first one that I had mentioned to you, for instance, to ensure that we involve the people to come out and speak their minds and to tell us what they want and do this. Now, we have had 3 major projects in Nasarawa State so far. The first one is the Dangote that came and acquired 68,000 hectares of land. 68,000. That has the capacity to produce 1/3 of the entire annual consumption of sugar for Nigeria, to be in one site, one location. To get the people involved, we said, when we came, we didn't just go and say there is government interest to acquire your land. No, we consulted with them. We explained what the project actually was to them. We negotiated how much they should be paid for their compensation, and we negotiated with them their involvement when the project actually comes on board. When we got successful, after that we got a good example is, we got a site called Kafimoi, one of the major villages. They said they were not interested in the project. They were not interested in any part of the compensation. We carved that area out, and we told them, please stay, since you are not interested. If later on you become interested, you can join. Okay? We did the same now when Azman came in total local government. Now we are going to do the same. That flour mills. Flour mills, we
but
just...
But no ill feelings. No ill feelings for that, the community.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, I said, if Dangote was going to do the corporate social responsibility, let them concentrate maybe 90-95% on areas that agreed. But don't neglect these people completely. Take maybe 5% and give to them. That way at least they let them have the feeling of something good is in their own area. Okay? So right now they are coming back. They want to be part of the project. And we're taking our time, say, we want to make sure you want to be.
And again, this presupposes that those who govern must also be in tune with the rule of law. Which presupposes participatory, get the people involved in whatever you're doing.
Correct.
Now, unfortunately, most of the challenges that we've had to, tackle, that everybody puts, at the doorstep of the federal government, people say it's because our leaders, especially at the state government level, have not respected the rule of law. Have we been able to, if we look at it generally, if we open the spectrum of analysis beyond Nasarawa State, have we managed our challenges well?
Well, it depends on where. You see, to be truthful with you, including with us, we have been able to bring in people without knowing what exactly the people wanted. We have elected a lot of people that really are learning on the job. They have no idea what they wanted to have before coming in. We have elected people and given them powers without really, and not only election, we have also selected, because there are times where you give political appointments. We are given political appointments sometimes outside competence and capacity, and things like that. And when you do that, then you are likely not going to have the person that will give you what you want, But if you have people, actually who have the knowledge of what they want to do, they know what they have. There is the proverb that says, if you don't know where you are going, any road can take you there. But if you know exactly, this is where I'm going, this is my vision, this is my direction, this is it, nothing will distract you, because you are bound to be criticized, you are bound to be insulted, but you have your focus, you have your direction, you have your goal. This is where I'm going. This is what I want to achieve. So nothing distracts you. Because if you say, I'm going to sit down and listen to every dog that barks, then it's going to take somebody much longer to get to his destination. So I think that's the difference. So it's not only the fault of the leaders or the governors, it's also the fault of the people. We have had people who have a more credible person to vote for, but for certain reasons, ethnicity, religion, enticement, or whatever, they selected somebody else. So you have a lot of this in the country. So it goes with the leaders, it also goes with the people.
Okay, just before Your Excellency, we go on a short break, I'd just like you to speak briefly on this. There are opinions, out there on the possible solution or ways to address our issues. And I, reeled out some of those issues. There is now calls for a relook at the Constitution. There is, agitation for restructuring. Some say, no, it's not restructuring. Give us power. There's too much power at the center. You need to give the state. Some said, no. Because the local governments, the ward levels, the state, these have been deprived of their posts. Do you think constitution or constitutional review is a solution, or is it a part of it?
I think constitution should not be looked upon as the Quran or the Bible. It is meant to be amended. Constitution can work for some people, can work at certain times, but there will be times where things are changing. Today we have our children, who are just 2-3 years old, and they are able to teach us technology. You have a 5-year child, who will be able to take the telephone and do things that a 60-year cannot do. So things are changing and the world is changing. So anybody that says we must stick to some old-time constitution is actually deceiving his or herself. So I think constitutional amendment is the right thing to do, and that's the right way to go. Now, it's not the constitution that needs to be changed that matters. Are we going to follow what the constitution says? Are we going to implement the background of the constitution? Are we following even the current constitution the way it should be? Because, I have heard you many times, based on what people say, the governors are denying the local government from operating. The governors are denying the local government from, because we have had this over and over and over. And I always offer myself as an example. I say, whoever wants to investigate, come to Nasarawa, look at it, see what we are doing. Is it working? I have given them all the independence. Is it working for them? Most of the time they run back to me, to say, we don't have enough money. And I said, no, the essence of you being a local government chairman and a leader, go and generate revenue from the local government. You have the capacity.
Your Excellency,
okay?
They wouldn't have to wait to come to Nasarawa to verify.
No problem.
When we come back from this short break,
no problem,
we will now zero in on Nasarawa State.
But let me mention one thing you said about restructuring. And I will tell you, I always smile when people say restructuring. Restructuring in Nigeria means different thing to different people. You understand? I am an oil and gas person. I live in Port Harcourt. I work in the Niger Delta as an engineer. And for that reason, to a South person from the Niger Delta, resource control means restructuring to him. Give me my oil, let me manage my oil and pay something to that.
To the center.
Most people from the Southwest, if you talk to them, I have worked most of my career life, again, since I returned to Nigeria, in Lagos. You talk to them, economically they are buoyant, they have the water, they import most of their things, they speak almost the same language. So majority of them, leave us alone, let us manage our own economic resources. Mm-hmm. That is restructuring. Mm-hmm. So restructuring, when you go to different people, mm-hmm. It means different thing to different people. That's why I'm saying, when people tell you restructuring, please tell me what exactly do you want? What is it that you mean? What do you want the federal government to do or the legislators to do to say restructuring? So I think that's just the issue.
All right, Your Excellency, thank you. So you're watching Late Edition, and this week we're looking at the role of state governors in strengthening democracy, of course, which is 22 years uninterrupted. And on focus this week is Nasarawa State. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. You're watching Late Edition this week. We have His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer Abdullahi Sule, speaking to us on the role of state governors in strengthening Nigeria's democracy. Your Excellency, thank you once again. So let's get on with your 2 years and 25 years of Nasarawa State. So far, what would you say is your signature?
Security. I think number one, once you come to Nasarawa State, the first thing the people tell you, security, industrialization, unity of the people. We are living in peace with one another. And that is one thing that once you go into Nasarawa, forget about all the buildings you see, all the roads we build, all the agricultural we have, all the schools we renovated. First thing, anybody that I have received so far on the issue, when they come, the signature of AA Sule is security and unity of the people. The people are now living in peace with one another. So I think that's where our greatest achievement is. And I think that's what government is all about, governance is all about in the first place. You know, you must give the people some sense of security, sense of their welfare is taken, sense of their belonging they have, sense of independence. You know, we have people now who are free to just wake up in the morning, they wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and then they criticize the governor, and nothing happens to them. And for me, that's the beauty of democracy, you know, because we have a focus, we have a sense of direction, we have a way to go. Therefore, we don't pay attention to some of those, and there are very, very little of that. To the point where I'm not saying it with any sense of, I'm saying it with all sense of humility, really, that there is almost no opposition in Nasarawa State today. Nearly from the House of Assembly, where we had 7 members, you know, that were in the opposition. Now 5 of them had returned to our party. You know, only 2 of them are still out there, and they are knocking constantly, wanting to come back. So by the time we finish this remaining 2 years, we started with only 15 members out of the 24. We may have all the 24 now in our party. You know, so then we have all the big names, you know, in the state, you know, who are also returning to our party, including sitting members of House of Representatives, sitting members of House of Assembly.
You talk of security within your political party. What of security of lives and property?
That's the biggest security I'm talking about.
Nasarawa State used to be, I mean, the story coming out from Nasarawa State used to be between, you know, clashes between herders, farmers, communities, and all that. You know.
No, that's the main security.
Is this a region?
That's the main security I'm talking about. You see, on arrival, we have 3 major critical local government areas that were having a boundary with Benue. You know, the Doma, Kiana, and our local government areas. These 3 having the border, and now what brought about a lot of that was the new law, you know, in 2017, 2018, you know, by the Benue state government, you know, of coming out with the anti-open grazing law, you know, which brought a lot of problems between the Fulanis, and the Fulanis were actually kicked out. But we know we have a lot of indigenous chiefs in these 3 local government areas. And so when the Fulanis now, after they felt they were maltreated by the chief community in Benue state, coming out, any tip they saw was like the same person that maltreated them, you know, and so they bounce on those people. And that's where the problem all began.
What did you do?
On arrival, on first arrival, you know, I visited the Benue state governor. You know,
yes, I remember that.
Yes. So on arrival, I visited him. I wanted to understand what the law was all about and the boundaries of the law. Because there were accusations and counter-accusations that, okay, you come all the way into into Nasarawa state, because we don't have clear borders. Even our national borders are not very clear. So talk much of the regions, you know. So we have some of his own guards, you know, in Benue that were crossing over to Nasarawa to arrest some cows and take them to Benue and things like that. So we have had all those kind of problems. That was what I met on ground. So on arrival, I visited him, and I said, my brother, we must be worried about this problem. How do we resolve it? You know, and he was happy that we did that. You know, and we were able to walk through, to do the best we could. And we now had a joint meeting of both the Fulanis and the farmers, you know, and we were able to bring down that tension significantly. That was the first.
You also held town hall meetings with some communities, about 5 communities or
yes,
so.
in the same area.
Yes, and that worked.
It worked a lot.
Why hasn't this worked at the national level? Why hasn't this strategy worked?
National level is more complicated because you see, when we talk of national level, it has to work at the state level before national level. All these issues, there is nowhere the nation can go, the federal government can go that is not a state. You know, so it has to work within the state first before from the national level, they will come and join and do something else. If you say the national level, so where are they going to go? They go to Borno. Borno is a state. There is a governor there. They come to Nasarawa from the national level. Nasarawa is a state there. So it has to work. I realize it must work at a state level first. Yes, the police are under the control of the federal government. The military is under the control of the federal government.
So do you hold your counterparts accountable
to
for the continued... I don't want to say insecurity because that will cover a whole lot of things, but the continued communal clashes, farmer-header clashes.
I think my colleagues cannot be exonerated because, and I'm sure they believe that, and we are doing a lot. Only that, you know, the rest of the country may not know what the governors are also doing, because I hear also criticism that the governors are doing nothing about insecurity. I say it's because the people don't know. You know, it's similar to the same local government autonomy that people just criticize without knowledge. So it's the same thing. Believe me, the state governors today are responsible for all the security in their own states. Okay? Now, some states, the resources is also one of the problems. Okay? So nearly every state has one problem with resources or the other. You know, maybe 1 or 2 states may be lucky that they don't have such problems. You know, but majority of the states don't have enough resources to pay salaries, to do this, to do that, and to take care of security fully. So everybody is taking care of certain aspect of security, and then other aspect will open up. You know, because when you get the military to get involved, you have to support them to be able to do that. We are the ones buying the vehicles for them. We are the one paying the logistics allowances for them. We are the one doing this. You have to do all that, you know, if you want the security to work.
Let me move away from the issue of security. You earlier on, you touched on education, you touched on infrastructure and all that, but your people think that you have not really marched towards with action. And considering your wealth of experience in the private sector, both here and abroad, you know, they seem to expect much more than you flag. They say much of the roads in and out of the state are still, you know, dilapidated. Leftover projects from the previous administration are yet to be done and dusted. School infrastructure. You know, what's your response?
And they are perfectly right. It's expectations of people. Private sector is not going to, just because I have experience in the private sector, is not going to send a bunch of money to me to repair schools. Experience in the private sector is not going to send a bunch of money to me to go and repair the roads and things like that. And sometimes the people don't know the difference between a federal government road and a state road, a local government road. Most people don't know that. The governor is just responsible. He has to do this and do that. It goes back to the same thing that I say about criticism. But a lot of people who understand what we have done, since we came, we have actually repaired over 500 schools. And it's not enough. Okay? There are more schools to be repaired. We have done most of the rural roads. Still, there are some rural roads that are not yet done in these 2 years. We have done some of the major roads, places that never expected in the world they will have roads. Sisimbaki to Faruro, for instance, we fixed that road. Mararaba to Udege, for instance, we have fixed that road. Within the Lafayette Township, we have fixed so many roads. Still, there are so many to be fixed.
The roads that I applied.
Yeah.
So, and Your Excellency, I'm probably one of the students of your state university. So the road that applied from Abuja down to Kefi, it's I don't know, needs to be looked at. It needs attention.
And that's a federal government road, and the federal government is working on it. That's a federal government road. You see, that's what I'm telling you. So
the portion
because that's the one that concerns you.
The portion from the roundabout, I don't know much of the names, you know, from the roundabout that leads directly to Kefi, to the Nasarawa State University. You know, is that also a federal road?
The road is federal from Abuja all the way to Akwanga. You see, the road is dualized. From here, you are lucky you are using to Kefi. You will have criticized it more if you go all the way to Lafia.
Yeah.
Okay? Because you are only using about 3 kilometers of the single lane.
Oh, that's where I apply. And
Yeah, no, I
use it
understand that.
too.
And you have absolutely no problem. I tell you that I take those criticisms purely as that. But those are not, that's not a state government road. It's a federal government road. However, I didn't sit down and fold my arm and say it's federal government road. No, I didn't do that. So the contract has already been allocated, has been given, has been contracted to a Chinese company called Czech. Czech is working on the road. But because of the amount of compensation required, they didn't start from the roundabout where the current highway ended. Instead, they have gone almost past the university. They have passed the university about 2 kilometers. That's where they started. Because the one you are going is right through the city.
You're right.
Yeah, so it's right through the city. So, and the reason why they are not doing within the city is because of compensation. So when I realized they are not doing that because of the right now, if you go through the, even through the university,
yes,
from the bridge, you will see that they have already started and they have constructed the bridge inside Kefi town, and they have already started going through the university. You will see they have opened
yes,
that area.
I think I remember, I recollect saying that. So I must clap for you for that. Yes, I must clap for you.
No problem.
Let's talk about NEDS. Nasarawa Economic Development Strategy. You at the beginning, at the outset of it, you presented it to the UN Deputy Secretary General, and it mimics the strategy we have at the federal level. In terms of deliverables in addressing poverty, speak to us about your achievement.
What we did, we picked each item, of the nets and address that. On industrialization, we pick that and say, all right, in order for us to have proper industrialization, we must actually establish a company called Nasarawa State Investment Development Agency. So we set it up and we said everything under that should be this. Now, on the infrastructure, we also set up an SPV and say it will be under that. So to reduce some of your hardships of this road you mentioned, from here, those going to Karu and every day, they go through this heavy traffic. One of the reasons why they go through the traffic is because of so many small motor parks that we have. We have 22 of them. Okay? So what we did, we counted how many vehicles are usually parked at every one of those motor parks. They usually go anywhere between, say, 15, 16, all the way to 60. Okay, so we now decided to construct a bus terminal, which you will see opposite the international market. That bus terminal will take 900 vehicles. So we say we are going to concentrate all these motor parks to that. That is a Nasarawa Economic Development Strategy project, that is there. On the areas of agriculture, but for the small farmers, which we are doing through the ANCO borrowers with the CBN, and the commercial farmers, which again we are doing through the Azman, the Dangote, and the flour mills that you see, and of course Olam that we are working on. So we're approaching that from that angle. On the education sector, we're approaching it based on what we did was to do a baseline survey on arrival. The baseline survey was to give us how many schools do we have, secondary schools, how many of them are viable, how many teachers do we have the right curriculum for some of these, how many of these teachers are competent, how many of them are not, okay, how many tools do they have in the schools. So for every school, what exactly do they have? So we take that also from that angle, and then we are approaching it. On the area of employment, so that's how we approach these with the nets. So nets itself is a 3-4 hours.
Okay, so nets is addressing a whole lot of sectors.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
just to boost, the investment drive.
That's correct.
For the country, and this is an area that you are again very strong, having the private sector experience.
Yes, I did that when I was still in the private sector.
Yes, trying to bring investment.
Yes.
Nasarawa is a mineral-rich economy.
Correct.
What is happening?
A lot is happening. We came in and went around to even identify the very first ministry I visited when I became a governor. Less than 2 weeks after I became a governor, I visited the Ministry of Solid Minerals. I wanted to find out from them, these minerals, how does it work? How many licenses were given in Nasarawa state? To who? How are they doing? Because the state didn't have any knowledge of what was happening. Everything was being controlled by this. And I took that matter all the way to NEC, okay, the Economic Council. And we presented the matter. And we said we needed to review this. Federal government will just give a license through the Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals, the license to some company. The company felt they have no business with the state because it's a license from the federal government. They will just go there and start working. And how does state come in? What is the role? So we did that, and a committee was set up, and I was made a member of the committee. But I'm saying from the first visit I made to the ministry, they gave me 420 licenses that were given in the state of solid minerals, Nasarawa state. Revenue generation for us, 0 at the time. A lot of them were mining limestone, were mining barite, were mining zinc, all kinds of minerals they were mining, And
illegally too.
And legally too. And illegally also.
Yes.
Okay? So, and they were mining that without also Nasarawa state being involved. And I said, no, it will not work. So we went to every one of them, and then we say, you have to register with the state. The minerals under the ground belong to the federal government, and you have a legitimate license. But before going to the minerals, you have to go through the land. According to the Land Use Act, the land belongs to the state.
Excellency, time is fast.
Yeah, so they are licensed. All of them now are registered with us. Okay. Most of them are paying their rates, their tenement rates, and the rest of that. That's what is working for us.
How has this spurred economic growth? Because at the beginning you talked about the fact that you had raised the profile, the poverty profile of your state, the revenue standing of your state. Mm-hmm. By how much? What is the state? What is the poverty profile of Nasarawa state?
We met Nasarawa making roughly about 500 million every month. We're a little over $1 billion at the moment. That's how much we are raising at the moment. Mm-hmm. My target is not 1 billion. My target is to be able to generate at 3 billion naira at least. Mm-hmm. That's where we are going.
I will not end this program without asking you a question. Integrating the Almajiri into the formal school system has been an issue. And it is an issue for governors, especially our governors from the north. Mm-hmm. The road from Abuja down, you see children, of course, with their pans, begging for alms. On the other side, you find their mothers or their fathers and all that. Is this a problem for you? Is it a concern for you? Is it a priority for you?
It's a priority, it's a major problem for the whole of Nigeria. To be honest with you, I work in Lagos. Since I returned from the US in the year 2000, I was in Lagos. Almajiri is everywhere in Lagos. It's a shameful thing for the north. It is because nearly every one of them there is from the north. Okay? So it's a major, when we came in, did we do nothing? No. During the lockdown, you will hear that the northern governors got together and sat down, and we thought we had a formula. We really thought we did. We came out with the formula, and we said, okay, every Almajiri, we take them back to their home states. The ones who are from Nasarawa, who are in Kano, bring them back to Nasarawa. Let them still go to the Almajiri school. Nobody will is stopping them from that. But let them go from their parents' homes. From their parents' homes, go to the Almajiri school.
Is it working?
And come back. No, it has not worked. I'm saying we thought we had the formula then, mm-hmm. and we spent a lot of resources, and we returned them. And a lot of them are back, surprisingly. So, and it goes back to the parents. It's failure again of everybody, failure of the society. Somebody having 10 children, and you can manage 2. And those are the problems. So it's a catastrophic problem, actually, especially for the northern part of the country.
I'm going to look 2 questions in one, and in 60 seconds, Excellency,
no problem.
Response. One, are you gender friendly? Because again, Global Trend supports mainstreaming gender, female gender, into the governance structure. Are you gender friendly? And what will 25 years celebration look like for Nasarawa State?
If I was not gender friendly, I would not be a friend, because I'm one of your best friends. You know, and I'm sure nobody from NTA communicates more with me than you. And I think it goes also with that. Anyway, from our appointments, you can tell. You know, I just recently appointed a chief judge who is a female for the first time in Nasarawa State. I have head of tertiary institution who is a female. I had one who came in temporary to hold the College of Education, a female. I have female commissioners. I have female advisors. I have so I think
you support more female in elective positions.
That one is not up to me, it's to the people of Nasarawa State.
What is 25 years going to be like?
The 25 years that is going to be there is going to be a big celebration for us, but it's more or less a reflection for us. We are going to reflect on what we have done in these past 25 years, where we are, what we will do. We review ourselves, we analyze ourselves, we assess ourselves, you know, and then what is it going to be for the next 25 years. So we have to develop a template, you know, to go there, and I think that's what this will be all about.
We hope to have you back again to review 25 years of Nasarawa State.
Inshallah.
Excellency Engineer Abdullahi Sule, Executive Governor of Nasarawa State. Thank you very much, sir, for joining me on this edition this week.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And that's the program. I thank you for watching. From me and the rest of the production crew, it's bye-bye.